Okay, remember that they're changing my voice to help you understand that I'm right, that God is a warrior, that this is a real African Falcon martial arts story. I'm going to make 7 videos back to back about the 7 trumpets, the 7 bulls, the 7 churches, okay, and the 7 seals. And then I'll make an 8th video where I connect, things that Jesus says that people are going to get, the white stone, okay, the morning star, what have you. So this first video is about Ephesus. Now you can look into the historicity of Ephesus, right? The history of Ephesus. And you'll see some interesting stuff, but it's unnecessary. But I suggest you look into it if you're interested in those things. So what did Ephesus do wrong, right? As Christ is rebuking the churches, he's citing their deeds. The emphasis on chastising the 7 churches is, where are their deeds? Where are their warrior deeds? Where are their martial art principles? Which we see only embodied in the Royal African Falcon martial art order. We don't see it in Western martial arts. We don't see it in Eastern martial arts islands. We don't see it in other African martial arts. We don't see it in capoeira. We only see it in the Royal African Falcon martial art order. So they have forsaken the love they had at first. That's what they did wrong. And it goes back to Babylon, right? The world is part of Babylon's system, right? It's said to be part of Edom, okay? It's like Assyria in the story where these ideas are very much punished. These nations, these peoples and ideas and kings. So they forsook Nimrod. Right, Nimrod was a mighty warrior before the Lord. Ham begot Cush, Cush begot Nimrod. Nimrod founded Babylon, and the Jews used to say to each other the proverbial saying that like Nimrod, a mighty hunter, a mighty warrior before the Lord. In Judges 3, God left the other nations to teach the Israelites warfare. So they didn't have a love for the Royal African Falcon martial art order like they had at first. And just like the Royal African Falcon martial art order conquers all the other martial art orders, okay, as I have with my challenge, and even before I was born, they've outdone them, and there's no way to reverse that. The die is cast. So did Babylon outmaneuver all the satanic systems, right? When they went to Rome, they became the dominant system of Rome. And when they went to Greece, right under Zeus, Rome under Jupiter, Baal in the Middle East, okay, Set, okay, which is the foundation of Babylon's system in Egypt. Babylon after it betrayed Nimrod. So now we see the trumpets line up, okay? So you see with the 7 seals, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. They line up and they also connect to other things as well, okay? But let's first look in this series at how they line up directly. So as a result of the world forsaking the Royal African Falcon martial art order and the king of the divine line, which is what Nimrod represents. Nimrod represents an individual person. It represents a line of kings. They're patriarchal kings. They're kings. They're males. Okay? It represents the idea of them grouped together. It represents the pinnacle of martial arts and being obedient to God. Ham begot Cush, Cush begot Nimrod from the tree of Ham. Noah, had a son named Ham, and Noah was righteous. Ham was righteous. The Cush was righteous initially, and he begot Nimrod. Now the whole world went astray. That's what Revelation says. Satan led the whole world astray, except for me. And I'm the gate, I'm the way out, and everyone refuses to obey God through me. So what happens to them? As they're in the spirit of forsaking the love they had at first. Okay, so a seal. Okay, let's go to the seal first before the trumpet. Excuse me. The seal is open. It's a white horse whose name is Faithful and True that's bent on conquest. So who's on this white horse? I've heard people try to argue that it's a bad person. It's not. It actually is Christ and Nimrod on this white horse. Okay, why? That's the most logical interpretation. Why? Okay, as long as you interpret it in the realms of righteousness and justice, you give the Royal African Falcon martial art order its place, you give the righteous their place, God their place, what have you, then the interpretation is valid, right? As long as it's telling the truth. For example, you can interpret George Bush as a jerk, as an asshole, okay, as having the soul of a gremlin, the soul of a vampire. They're all true in a sense because they're in the boundaries of righteousness and justice. No offense to George Bush. I'm not trying to insult him here, but he's a great example here. He needs to repent. Just like everyone else. Okay, so we see that the seal is broken, it's white horse, faithful and true. It's bent on conquest, right? Nimrod was a mighty warrior before the Lord. He's bent on conquest, the love that Babylon had at first. You see how it lines up? It's not a coincidence. And for those of you who want to argue that Nimrod's bad, how do you account for Mandela's ancestors, Martin Luther King's ancestors? Obviously, there was righteous black people, and they would be in the Bible, and that overkills that you must interpret Nimrod as good. You're going to argue that Bibi Netanyahu's ancestors had prophets and righteous people, but Mandela and Martin Luther King and people like that didn't? It's retarded. You know, no one with any sense and dignity and self-respect and honor for God and their family would accept those arguments. Okay, so the trumpet. It's hail and fire mixed with blood is thrown on the earth, a third of the trees, and all the green grass is burned up. Okay, the green grass, right, the proverb says the righteous thrive like a green leaf. So there's no righteousness anymore at all on the earth. And there's a third of the earth, a third of the trees, right? And they're tree of knowledge, they're fig trees, they're olive trees. The trees that they use for their fruits are reduced. So their works are laughable, like you see movies and art and music and everything they do, right? Military, everything's like a joke these days. And the bowls on the land, right? So the angel pours a bowl on the land, and it causes ugly, festering sores to break out on the people. And again, the word sores rhymes with the word whores, and the word sores is eros scrambled. So because they forsook this divine African martial art love of God that goes beyond black R&B singers, okay, that they're just whores, they're just sluts, you know, like so many celebrities, basically all of them, what have you.
Okay, so those of you who are struggling with the Nimrod argument, it says that Babylon the Great has fallen in Revelation 18. You see, I'm citing Revelation 12, Revelation 18, okay, Revelation 2, you know, Revelation 6, Revelation 8. It's all in pieces in the puzzle. Proverbs, right? It's pieces of the puzzle of the Bible. Okay, so it says Babylon the Great has fallen. Right? It was not fallen before. It was in the kingdom of heaven before. And it says that it has fallen and has become this evil place where evil spirits are. So in order for Babylon to have fallen, it would first have to be right with God. And that's what Nimrod represents. And the people who argue that Nimrod was magically, bad guy, right? Bad, okay, are wrong. Because they have no answer for Revelation 18. And these people love to cite various things like history and this, and this. They have no answer for the ancestors of Martin Luther King or myself, my father who's a humanitarian, or, you know, the reason why blacks are called soul brothers. You have to account for that, right? The way, the truth, and the life. Make righteousness and justice the measuring line and plume line. So before, it was the spirit of the hawk and the falcon, which is the spirit that the Egyptians were referring to as Horus. The reason why there were good Egyptians in the Bible, like the Pharaoh who gave him Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, who's the high priest of Ra. So Ra is said to be connected to Horus, and God didn't punish Pharaoh or Joseph or Asenath for Pharaoh giving Joseph the daughter of the high priest of Ra and elevating him to second in command. So Pharaoh put Joseph under him, and he chose his wife. Whereas America and the world are being punished in the next week for meddling with my reproductive cycle, for meddling with people with their eugenics, their scientific racism, their white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy. And you can imagine how stupid they would look if they tried to deny this. That is key in the Bible. If you don't know they're being punished and that they're being cut off from God, then you're crazy. You have no idea what good is, and you have no idea what evil is. Okay? God is exalted by his acts of justice. Nimrod was exalted by his righteous martial art acts, which are like Job, the hawk spreading his wings by the wisdom of God. Okay? Nimrod spreading his angelic wings, his royal divine falcon anointed angelic wings by the wisdom of God to make him the top martial artist at that time. And my divine King of King crowns and wings made me the top martial artist ever possible.